Hello, this is Scott. So we're continuing our hands-on Statistica series. Last time, if you'll remember, we talked about time indexing and looking at merges on a timestamp or time variable with application to sensor data, IoT, financial markets, biometrics, etc. And this time we're going to talk about a related topic, which is ID-based merges. So instead of lining on time, we're going to line on a lot number, a batch ID, some identifier. And then next time we're going to talk about stacking and unstacking. So all of this is data management. In fact, the last few of these have been on data management. I guess I need to change that to 7. And so an overview for today, a couple of places this applies. One, in FDA, the United States Food and Drug Administration, they have something called PAT, which is Process Analytical Technology. And so this relates to that. It relates to any time that you have manufacturing data coming in through lots or IDs, and you want to do some sort of analysis. If you come in through a laboratory information system, we talked about OSI, PI last time. So all of these different data types and the need to manipulate this data once you have it initially sourced to bring together and to merge. And again, this is all about data manipulation across the platform. So unlike last time where I did everything ad hoc, I'm going to actually do things in a workspace today. So let's look at the data sources. I've got this final set for testing that has come in, which is essentially the status of the tests that were run. So one row of data here. I've got 3 sets of data. One that was collected late morning from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. for batch 111, and then with a couple of parameters here, temperature and pressure. Here is another set taken between 2:30 and 4:19 a.m. And this is again, the same batch number, some different metrics taken, measurements taken, and then a set starting from midnight down to 1:30. So I've got multiple sets, the same batch, and we're going to look at 3 different ways that I can slice this within the ETL node. You'll find this node underneath the data tab and right here under the ETL ID-based drop-down here in the transformations section. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to create a, we're going to bring in we're going to select variables for all 4 of those data sets. So on the first one, what I've done is I've selected batch number as the class ID, my set of measurements here, and this first run, that's all I'm going to identify. The same thing for the second one. If you can see right here under the variables, I've got batch number as my class ID in 3 through 6. The third set, batch number instead of ID, and I've got the variables 3 and 4, and then I've got my quality data. So that's a minimum configuration, and if I run that node right there, what happens is I get a single row of data. I've merged everything by batch number. I didn't show it to you, but you can set it. I'm actually taking the averages across these different time domains, right? Because we have multiple times for those, and you can set the different parameters there within the node. All right. The second node we configured is this basically the same variables, but I've added something in that I've added a timestamp to this, and I've also under the advanced tab, I could have set a time domain. We're not going to set anything on this particular one. We'll see in the next node what happens when I do set that. And then I can look at the set number 2, and again I've got batch number, and I've got the time variable added as well in the third one. So essentially on all of these, all I'm doing is I'm adding in the timestamp. So I'm going to merge by batch ID and timestamp in this case, and we'll run it, we'll look at it. So now I've got, and this is a downstream document, by the way. So this is a downstream document that I can carry forth in an analysis. The thing that's different about this data is that I'm carrying the first 4 measurements here. And remember, that was early morning, and then I've got mid-morning and late morning. So basically, I'm joining these data sets in by combination of batch and timestamp. And then I can manipulate this data however I want to. And then lastly, what I've done here is my variables look the same as the previous node that we just looked at, but the one thing that's changed is this time variable specs. I've now said create 5 equal intervals. So through that entire series, what I'm doing is I'm chunking it up into 5 bins, right? And remember, this is very important because we have really different number of rows in each one of these time slots, each one of these first 3, process data data sets. And just so that you can set in specified, so you can create your own bins. You can set whatever intervals that you want. You have full manual control over all of this, as much of Statistica. You have the ability to fill in with missing data. You can do Cartesian joins. So you have a lot of different options to create the results. But here, again, the only thing that we're really doing is we are specifying that we were going to use the time specs of 5. Okay? And then lastly, one of the things that I didn't show is the variable specs here, is that I can aggregate that data however I want to, right? Just like before we saw with the time-based indexing. So I can take whatever I want. Here I'm just taking the average, but I could take the median or the maximum, minimum, etc., or even sum. All right? So then when I do the results on this node, when I run that, what I get is I do get the 5 different intervals, and it doesn't matter what time of day that I ran that, it's chunking this into 5 different intervals, and then I can compare, since it's all the same, virtually the same process, right? In different stages, I can compare those variables. So next time we'll talk about more data management, stacking and unstacking. Again, you can send me an email at either one of these addresses. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you next time.